All right, welcome to the Duke Arizona preview. Welcome back to the channel. If you're subscribed, if you have not subscribed, please like and subscribe. This video of Duke Arizona preview, I did a Duke Baylor preview last week. And look, what I talked about, it kind of happened in fruition. We saw guys that struggled around the rim. They struggled around the rim against Duke. And we talked about that in the film breakdown as well. So hopefully we see the same result. If you're a Duke fan, if you're an Arizona fan, hopefully I have some of these stats right. If I'm wrong or there's a misconception about what I'm going to talk about from the first matchup, feel free to leave a comment and correct me because you know your team better than I do. But I went back and watched the Duke Arizona first matchup back in November. Impressive win for Duke. But look, as a long time ago, this is a different Arizona team because that Arizona team was on the brink of going unranked. I think they lost like 4 out of like 6 games or something crazy like that to where they just slid after the Bahamas. And now this Arizona team, they're solid. Their offense efficiency, they're 13th in the country. They're 28th in defense efficiency, 33% from three. And like I said, Duke beat Arizona at Arizona 69-55. Cooper Flagg had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, but 4 turnovers and 4 fouls. He was very colorful in the stat sheet that night. He filled up the stat sheet, good and bad for Duke. 24 points on 22 shots. He was 10 of 22, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he started that game like 3 of 11, and then he got it hot late. Caleb Love is Mr. Jekyll and Hyde. Well, he had 8 points on 3 of 13, 1 of 9 from 3, and we're going to talk more about him as we go through the individual stats. But I wanted to talk about the takeaways I had in the Duke-Arizona matchup the first time they played for both teams. It's well documented for Duke fans, but Caleb Foster started the game. He played 26 minutes. He had 8 points on 2 of 6. I think Duke's first two shot attempts, or first 2 out of 3 shot attempts, were Caleb Foster threes that he missed. That just goes to show you how far Duke's offense has come since that matchup. Sion James, who is now the starter over Caleb Foster, came off the bench. He played 20 minutes. He had 6 rebounds and 6. He had 6 points and 6 rebounds and 2 assists in those 20 minutes because that is what Sion James is. He is just instant production, silent, quiet production. 2 guys that did not play for Duke. It's well documented. Isaiah Evans was a DNP, and Pat Gongba, who's Duke's backup center right now, was a DNP because the center that did play was Malik Brown for Duke. And now that we're recording this day before the matchup, it came out that he practiced with Duke today, might try and give it a go tomorrow. I don't know what his status is going to be, but against Arizona at Arizona, he only had 2 points, but I think he had 7 rebounds. He had multiple deflections, and he had multiple assists in the offense of where Duke likes to slip a screen and Malik Brown's at the top of the key and throws it to the slip screener, which is like a Sion James or Tyrese Proctor. Duke tore Arizona up with Malik Brown on the court when that happened. If Malik Brown does not play in this matchup, it'll be interesting to see how Duke attacks Arizona, since Malik Brown obviously is a good facilitator and facilitated well at Arizona. Now, for Arizona, Krivis, the 7-2 center, he's out. He started it versus Duke. He had 5 points in 21 minutes. And also Anthony Del Orso, the transfer from Campbell, he played a season-low 4 minutes in the first matchup against Duke. He has started 27 games now for Arizona, and he averages 18 minutes per game at I think he averages 7 points per game. I have it in the scouting report down here as I continue to go through my notes. But last game against Oregon, he had 12 points. This is a guy that I watched at Campbell his freshman and sophomore year. It still boggles my mind that he's at Arizona, but like in a good way. I just could not imagine a guy from Campbell in the Big South being productive at Arizona for a team like that. And he's proven it. The guy can shoot it. He's fun to watch, but Arizona has a different team because Del Orso, like I said, from 4 minutes to averaging 18 minutes a game, you got to put in there too the games where he probably played 11 minutes a game as he built his way up to playing in the 20s. So the guy is a contributor for Arizona and somebody Duke now has on their scouting report. So let's go into the scouting report for Arizona. Let's start with the man himself, Caleb Love, 6'4", 205, 17 points per game on 39, 34, 89 splits. I mean, he is, like I said, he's Jekyll and Hyde. Like, I'm curious if what Arizona fans think of Caleb Love, because it's got to be very similar to UNC, where when he's hot, he's so fun to watch, but he might be the most frustrating player to pull for because of his inconsistencies. His whole career, he's been a bad finisher around the rim. This year, he's 47% on layups, 139 attempts, and he's shooting 34% on 64 floaters. So kind of like what was it, Robert Wright for Baylor, where he was attacking the rim, bad shooting percentage around the rim with layups, and bad shooting percentage on floaters. And then he lived with those against Duke in the round of 32, and he was 3 of 11 from the field. Caleb Love is shooting 29% off the dribble. It seems like every game I watch, he is shooting a shot off the dribble. He has shot 116 attempts off the dribble, and he's shooting 29%. And he loves to shoot contested ones. Like, shot off the dribble, you got to guess it is pretty contested. But even the catch and shoots that are contested, he's pulling. He has shot 121 attempts that have been contested, and he's shooting 30% on those. So 30% on contested shots, 29% on dribble pull-ups, 34% on floaters, and 47% on layups. Jesus. That's just who he is. And then he'll hit a big shot. A few big shots. But that's the frustrating part if you are an Arizona fan, to have a guy like Caleb Love that averages 17 points per game, because he gets those 17 points per game on 15 shots a game. Next guy, Jaden Bradley, 6'3", 200 pounds, 12 points per game, 46, 32, 82 shooting splits. In the first matchup against Duke, he had 18 points and 5 steals. He was a menace defensively against Duke. He had 18 points. And I found this interesting, that he has taken 147 layups this season, and he has taken 147 jump shots this season. I've never seen that before. His layups are 57%, pretty solid around the rim, I'd say. Jumpers are at 36%, which is probably right above average. Like, the guy is a good player. Jaden Bradley is solid. It's a guy that Duke's going to have in the scout at the top of the scouting report. He can beat you in a number of ways, but him having 5 steals against Duke in the first matchup, Duke's got to take care of the rock. And Jaden Bradley, you got to keep him. You got to keep him at bay on the defensive end, know where he's at all times. Next up, KJ Lewis, 6'4", 205, 11 points per game, 43, 19, and 81 splits. In the first matchup against Duke, he had 12 points and 6 rebounds. And of course, I said he shot 19% from 3 this season. He was 1 of 2 from 3 against Duke. I found this crazy. He made 14 threes last year on 41 attempts, which is 34%. I mean, it's low volume, but 41 out of 41 3-point attempts, he made 14. This year, he has shot 69 threes, and he's made 13. So he's made 1 less from last year and almost 30 more attempts. So that's how you get to 19% from 3. He is 8 of 51 on catch and shoots, 16%. 5 of 27 when he's guarded, 18.5%. 3 for 24 when he's wide open, 3 of 24, 12.5%. Moral of the story, he hit a 3 against Oregon. Let him shoot. Do not let this big body guard try and get downhill and get to the rim. Obviously, that's what his strength is. You make him sit out there and think about it from 3. If he hits 1 or 2, then that's the scout. That's just something that's going to happen. But KJ Lewis, those are some crazy shooting numbers. Like I said, 13 of 69 from 3, 8 of 51 on catch and shoots, 5 of 27, guarded, 3 of 24 unguarded. That is crazy. Now let's get to a big fella, Henry Vassar, 7 foot, 225, 9 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 59, 33, 67 splits. He only played 13 minutes against Duke the first time they played. 2 points and 5 rebounds and 2 turnovers in those 13 minutes. Look, he can step outside and knock one down on occasion, and he's a big body, and he is a good test against Malawach, like the bigs were against Malawach the first time Duke played Arizona. That's probably why John Shire wanted to play Arizona, to have those big guys try and beat up Malawach and test him. Malawash has played good basketball in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 games for Duke. I hope that continues as he has to go against Vassar and Awaka, who I'm going to get to. But it's a big body that Duke's going to have to keep off the glass because Duke has struggled, I would say struggled in for their standards to keep opposing teams off the offensive glass. So next up is Trey Townsend, 6'6", 225, 8 points per game on 50, 33, 79 splits. Inconsistent playing time. He had 4 points and 7 rebounds versus Duke in 27 minutes, but he played solid defense when I watched it back against Flag and Knipple. He forced he forced 1 or 2 flag turnovers. He tried to take a charge. There was a no call, but he was in good position to where the ref swallowed the whistle. So when flag fell down, he turned the ball over to Jaden Bradley, who probably got the steal for that. But it was thanks to Trey Townsend. Townsend also had a block on Knipple on a drive where Knipple tried a big body Townsend off his feet like Knipple does. Townsend stayed with him, blocked it. He's a good player. He obviously came from Oakland. He's a good player at that length, 6'6", 225. I found it fascinating. I haven't watched much Arizona this year, but to see that his playing time has been like dwindled. There was like a 7-game stretch recently where he didn't play more than 19 minutes. And to put it in more perspective, he has played 25 minutes or more 3 times since Christmas. And the most he played was 27 minutes in Arizona's loss at Kansas on March 8th. So only 3 games since Christmas did he play 25 or more minutes. So yeah, I think it's just because he's inconsistent shooting the rock. He's 18 of 58 on jump shots. That's 31%. He has a good hook shot though that he will shoot on occasion at 6'6". He can shoot over top of smaller defender. But most of his points are at the paint or at the rim around the paint where he shoots 60%. So he's a guy that's 6'6", nice little wingspan that's trying to get downhill and finish around the rim. We got a few more. Awaka is next, 6'8", 250, 8 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. He struggled mightily against Duke the first time they played. 0 points, 2 turnovers in 12 minutes. This guy, I think, will have a little bounce back game because one, it's March Madness, and you can't judge a team based off November results. I can't judge Arizona on this in this preview for a November result when Duke lost to Kentucky and Kansas around the same time. And so Awaka, I think, is going to be a factor, especially on the glass with his motor. The 12 minutes he played against Duke, that was his second lowest minutes total this season, behind his 8 minutes he played against Texas Tech last week, actually, where Arizona won that game. But all of his points are around the rim, his 8 points per game. There's no outside shooting. It's all around the rim. He's active on the glass. He had 12 points and 14 rebounds in the win against Oregon in the second round. So this dude, he goes and gets it. He goes and gets it. Duke's going to have to really eliminate him off the glass, especially off the offensive glass. Because if he gets his paws on the ball and allows Arizona to extend possessions, Duke is flirting with danger. And so they got to eliminate a walk off the glass. Last couple, I've already touched on Del Orso, 6'6", 190, Campbell transfer, 7 points per game on 50 or 45, 41, 90 splits. He's a very good shooter and an average finisher around 51%. He's in there to shoot the rock. So got to close out and maybe force him to drive weak side against help side defense. But it's a guy that is going to shoot the rock like I talked about earlier. And lastly, guy we're going to talk about, Carter Bryant, 6'8", 250, 6.5 points per game, 48, 37, 68 splits. He had 6 points on 2 threes in the 20 minutes versus Duke. He's had 112 jump shots on the season. He 248 shots around the rim. So 112 jumpers and 48 shots around the rim. He is shooting 38% on jumpers, and 92 of his 112 attempts are catch and shoots. So he's out there standing in the corner, letting Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley go to work, and they're just penetrating and then kicking. And then it's Carter Bryant that's on the wing or the corner, the catch and shoot it at 36%. And he's very good around the rim. Like I said, 48 shots around the rim, not a lot of attempts for a guy his size at 6'8", but he's 71% from around the rim. So when he gets to the rim, he's going to finish it. And so Duke's going to have to really wall him up when he attacks downhill. Like I say, he doesn't do it often. 48 shots around the rim. That's like 1.5 per game almost. And Duke's just going to have to really close out on him as a shooter, probably a mid closeout to make him think about it. You don't want to over close because you don't want him finishing around the rim, but you want to be out there because at 36% as a catch and shoot guy, look, he can burn you out there if you let him shoot it. And he's a pretty good defender. He's a good athlete at 6'8", 250. So I'll be curious to see if he plays more against Cooper Flagg this go around than he did the previous matchup. But look, this is going to be a good game. I have all these notes from the game, how to make sure I got everything. But it's going to be a great matchup. Duke, Arizona, Sweet 16, rematch for Arizona. But also teams feel like and have the argument that they weren't the team that they are now back then. Because let's face it, nobody is. Nobody is. But it'll be interesting to see Sion James playing against them, Gongba playing against Arizona, Isaiah Evans playing against Arizona. Will Malik Brown play is a huge question. And will Del Orso be an impact player since he only played 4 minutes in the first time they played this season? So the key for both teams, though, after just saying all those names, is Caleb Love. Is Caleb Love going to shoot Arizona in this game like he did against Oregon and lead them with like 29 points? Is he going to have 20 plus against Duke? And is he going to kill Duke in March Madness again? Or is this the Caleb Love that we have come to know through his whole career, where he will shoot his team out of a very important game? Saw it against Duke this year, and then we saw it. Everybody knows the Caleb Love shot against Duke in the Final Four, but people don't bring up the loss to Kansas in the national championship game right after that, where Caleb Love shot UNC out of that win, where UNC suffered the biggest collapse from halftime, or Kansas overcame the largest deficit, second half deficit in national championship history. I think they're down like 16 or something at half. Caleb Love shot UNC out of the game because he kept shooting. He was like 5 of 20. And that's why UNC didn't win a national championship. So he hit the shot against Duke, but then burned UNC in the national championship game. Which Caleb Love we're going to see in this game? That is the main question. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Duke and Arizona fans, I try to make it as middle as possible, not to give really any Duke bias to this, because I do think this is going to be a good game. And the key for Duke is to keep Arizona off the glass and see if Caleb Love can miss some easy ones and the tough ones. So I appreciate you guys watching this. This was fun to do. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.